Well, if the city of Corinth had this message of partnership, the city of Ephesus, which is the next stop on Paul's journey, has a message of power about it. See, Paul spends 3 years here. It's a city that's buzzing. It's got trade routes, politics, wealth. This was not a sleepy town. It was a hub. And Paul begins, where he often does, we've talked about this, in the synagogue. We read that he speaks pretty boldly about the way. That was the early name for the movement of Jesus' followers, because it wasn't just a belief system, but a way of living shaped by Jesus. As Paul is speaking, some listen, some refuse to believe, and some actually publicly malign their movement. They intentionally try to damage the reputation of the way. Now, Ephesus was known for many things, one of those being a devotion to Artemis. If you're up on your Greek mythology, you would know that Artemis is the goddess of the hunt. She's often depicted with a silver bow and arrow. She's the daughter of Zeus, the twin sister of Apollo. And here in Ephesus, it was believed that the statue of Artemis that they had in their temple had actually fallen from the sky. Worshipping this goddess was tied to kind of a civic pride, a feeling of belonging in the city. It was tied to their economy as well. So with that in mind, we come to verse 20. So the word of the Lord spread widely and grew in power. Now, this wasn't the power of Paul or his companions. This was the power of God and God's word. And yet, things kind of explode a bit. A silversmith, his name is Demetrius, who in his trade makes shrines to Artemis. And he realizes something. If people stop worshiping the goddess, his profits collapse. So he rallies the craftsmen. This fellow Paul has led astray large numbers of people, he says. It sounds kind of religious, but it's actually financial. Fear has a funny way of disguising itself as righteousness, doesn't it? So, at his lead, the people rush to the theater. Now picture a stadium that seats about 25,000 people. That's a large crowd, even more than the marketplace in Athens. We can picture them chanting. It's a rally to get this fellow Paul there so they can give him a piece of their minds. And Paul, well, he actually wants to go in. He wants to speak. Remember, he's pretty practiced at this point. So the crowd size does not intimidate him. He's willing to face this riot. But his companions, they don't let him. They notice the tide is shifting. The opposition is louder. The stakes are higher. And as we'll read in the next chapter, his journey is about to take another turn. So where does this section of Acts leave us in the midst of a power riot? Well, let's go back to Demetrius. Remember, he's a man who feels threatened. A man whose identity and his income feel at risk, even without any clear evidence. He reacts anyway. So maybe this is a time where we can actually try and put ourselves in his shoes. How do we respond when we feel threatened? When our status feels shaky? When change feels like a loss? Maybe it's time for us to ask in our life of faith or elsewhere, who have we pushed away simply because fear told us to? Well, eventually the city clerk calms the riot. Order is restored for now. But fear, it's pretty powerful. We'll see tomorrow as we notice where that fear takes Paul's journey next.